Hello and welcome. This is real-world digital transformation case study, University of Oulu. My name is Olli Askeläinen. I'm a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Certified Master for SharePoint, and Microsoft Certified Trainer. I work for a company called Sulava. There is about 80 of us in Finland. And actually standing here, it's pretty much like Finland because the fan is. Yeah. All right. So there's 80 of us, and 4 of us are MVPs. So we take our business and expertise very seriously. And we are quite proud folk as well. I also work as an Office 365 and SharePoint User Group Finland organizer. Organizer for Office 365 and SharePoint User Group Finland. And I recommend that if you haven't visited any user group meetings in your area, I recommend that you do it because it's a great way to hear presentations and also talk with different people from different organizations having the same problems or same challenges as you do. University of Oulu is located in northern parts of Europe in Finland, about 100 miles south from the polar circle. So you can imagine that during the winter time it's even colder than here. And it's a quite large organization, of course, depending on your view, but it has over 13,000 students and about 3,000 faculty members. When working with this organization, I was very thrilled because of their dedication, and they are usually ranked within the top 3% of all universities in the world. They came to me with the idea that they have 50 different internal processes that they would like to digitalize, but it wasn't planned as a big project, let's do everything, let's do them once or anything else. That it was more like, let's give it 10 work days and see what comes out. So that's what I'm going to talk about next. First, the digital transformation. There is the challenge of digital transformation, and it's not new one, because, well, how I view it, digital transformation has been there since we had our first computers, like doing the calculations on paper instead of doing them with the computers. That's where it all started. And nowadays we have a lot of different forms. They can be Word forms, or they can be Excel forms, or Infobot forms, or different kind of forms and different kind of workflows, emails, and what we do. So basically, today we just have a new set of tools, and I'm going to talk about PowerApps and Flow in this context. Then there is, of course, this natural questions: why should we do this at all? And there is basically few things. First, because it saves resources, which means that it saves money. Then you can do it faster, more efficiently. That's a second reason. You have a faster processes. And third reason is that you can gather data and use that data later on to meter and analyze and do actions based on those the data that you have collected. And of course, the quality of the process can also be increased using these two modern tools. So how do you get started, especially if you consider that you are going to do it using the PowerApps and Flow? And I would suggest that you start from small. You start from the simple things. You identify different kind of processes you have, and you start learning how you do it. Don't take the most difficult one first. All right. So how did we do it? First, at the University of Oulu, they they analyze that they have those 50 processes. And then they realize that they don't have the expertise in PowerApps and Flow. So they asked us, Sulava, a Microsoft partner company, to come along and help them out there. I would say that why we were as successful as we were comes from two different things. First, we had the process which was very iterative and agile, and then we had a very good team building the solutions. So iterative process here means that we have basically a 2-day workshop. It starts on the first day and on the second day with a focused conversation. What were we going to do today? And then we are sort of like thinking about different features on the solution and then prioritizing them. And after that, you go for the implementation. So just as simple as that. 1 or 2 hour meeting and then implementation, and then you have another meeting in the afternoon, and you can see, so what did we actually do? And then we continue on that. Of the different persons in our team, these are more like roles that we had the business person, depending on the process we are digitalizing. And then we have the project manager or the scrum master. And these two persons are very important because we are actually building the solution for a person, and the project manager, scrum master is sort of like facilitating that everything can happen, that this group can be together and build this solution. But we also need the decision maker. Somebody needs to sort of like agree the bills that this costs something, everything costs, but we need to have the support from the decision maker. And also what he can do, he can motivate the team that this is important things we are building here. And if we have any difficult problems we cannot solve, like we cannot make the difficult decision. We can go to the decision maker, say, this is the thing, this is the problem, we have these 2 options or these 3 options, and he will make the decision. The guy in the middle in our project was basically me. I was their PowerApps and Flow expert, but I was supported by the IT here at the bottom. We have a very good DBA, business intelligence expert. She has been very vital to these solutions because we are using SQL Server there. So she has been building tables and things like that for us. And then there's actually 3 developers involved. And one of the things they are doing they were doing in our project, they were becoming that PowerApps and Flow expert. So they were learning while we were doing that. At first, it was me who was working, but then they did a lot of things by themselves, and so they can also like continue administering this solution. They don't need me to do that. And then we had various system specialists as well. For example, AD administrator or student management system specialist, persons like those, depending on the need. Not all of these persons were present all the time during the 2-day workshops, just when they were needed, but they were available. So I have 2 cases I will showcase here. And first is employee salary bonus proposals, which is turned out to be a PowerApp. At first we thought that it's going to be a Flow, but then we decided that it's more like UI and multiple flows. So here you have a proposal for employee salary bonus. This is the manager's view. He has or she has a list of her team members there that he has given this proposal and a new proposal button. There is nothing pending, but for example, manager of the manager in the next step has pending proposals that need his or her action. For example, he needs to approve or decline a proposal. This is a view of an open proposal, and basically manager has a few buttons here, like return to the previous manager, or request additional information from the previous manager, or continue to approve or decline. The flows were involved in notification processes. If, for example, one of those buttons was pushed, it will require action from somebody else, and the flow was triggered, and it would send an email notification. And finally, there was second app as well. It's HR view of the same system. So HR has different tasks. They need to finalize the actual approved proposal, and they were using this one. This is Finnish only, but because they are all Finns, but the previous one was English and Finnish, so it's supports two languages that we wanted to support. So before this, what we had was an email-based process, and now we are having this two PowerApps, about 7 flows for notifications and retention. We have on-premise data gateway, SQL database, and SQL data warehouse. And we also have a RESTful interface, existing RESTful interface, which can create PDF files to archival purposes. It's not Microsoft technology, but we used it anyway. What we learned? SQL views are very essential. You cannot do a complex Power App using SQL without using SQL views, because it will be very slow. But with SQL views, you can sort of like get all the information in the screen available easily for Power App. Otherwise, it would be like popping the information when it actually goes to the table and another table and retrieves the information and finally puts it on the screen. SQL views are must use there. Then we learned that the SQL connection model is a bit tricky, because it's based on the service account. It's not using the actual user account. That's not a problem in our first Power Apps, because there we can say what the user actually sees. But since Power Apps and connections are separate in a way that you must share for users, you must share both the connection and the Power App. The connection can be used by this user in his own Power Apps, and so he can sort of like use that connection and read the whole data in the SQL there. So what we did was we denied the creation of Power Apps from these users just for the security purposes, because our data is so critical and sensitive. All right, this is currently running out to production. Then there was a second application we created. It's an application to record student presence in labs. It has actually 2 applications. One is for the teacher, and here is a teacher view. And generating this view was actually the most difficult part of this whole solution. I will get back to that on the next slide. But this view shows that this teacher has 2 different labs he's giving today. So he clicks one of them, and then he will get onto this screen where he can generate a code. And this code is basically a random number with 5 digits, and it's given by the teacher. The teacher tells what is the code to the students. And the students have their own app, and then they type in the code, click Mark Presence, and here then you can see in the teacher app that now this and this student has been marked his presence to this lab. So he can survey that, well, there's 18 of us and there's 18 responses, everything is good. And the code is valid for only 5 minutes. What was really painful was the thing that happened before this application. Is every student have the study books, and when the lab started, they went to the teacher, and the teacher has stamp, and they can use this stamp to mark their presence. And that's not all, because these stamps are different for different courses and different different dates, because they need to be unique. So there is this administrative person who actually made those stamps, and his or her has a lot of work there. And then after this course is finished, the student is taking the study book to the administrative person, who is making an Excel file for all the different persons on this course. So as you can see, this is like a huge time-saving thing, and quality saves here as well. Solution 2, PowerApps, on-premise data gateway, SQL database, and an integration to the course management system. It has RESTful APIs there. And first, I will go forward. First, what we tried to do is to use this existing RESTful API to gather the information so that we know that this teacher in the teacher app, as you remember, has these two labs today. And that provided to be very difficult, because there wasn't use case for this. There was a number of different use cases, but we had to use 6 different REST calls, filter the data, and make another call, and it take forever. It was very slow to do, and the complexity of Flow was way beyond what we wanted. And so we decided that we are going to do a real program, not PowerApps and Flow, a real program code that will read this information every night and put the data in the database that we are using from the PowerApps. All right. It's currently piloted with medical students. So, in conclusion, even though it might seem that some of these processes, there were 4 of us what we did, and these 2 that I presented to you are actually pretty complex, but I recommend start with the simple ones. These are usually something that gather data like just a few SharePoint lists there, and the Power App, and everything is good from there. But these 2 are a bit more complex, but start with the simple ones. Then you need to have this group of people or team of people doing it. It's not enough that you have a skilled Power Apps and Flow guy there. That's not going to be enough. You need to have the actual user there. You need to have the IT there so that they can participate later and later take control of the application. Don't just do it. Just use a consultant who will walk away after the project. And learn by doing. We learned a lot. I learned a lot by doing. They learned a lot by doing this. And the final thing I want to say is this consideration of enterprise readiness of the solutions. As you saw, these are enterprise solutions we were building there. So you need to carefully consider what are the implications of that? Like, for example, you need to check the flows that are running in the first app. If the flows are failing, you need to know about that, take action based on that. I haven't yet really seen a flow which always runs 100% correct. Something will go wrong at some point, and you need to be able to figure out what happened and what do we do in future if there is something. With that, I will be here for questions, but thank you very much. This is